Before they became missing persons, they were mothers, they were daughters, they were sisters, they were friends, they were deeply loved. For every family still searching, for every name that deserves to be remembered, for every story that deserves to be told, this is their stories to tell. Before Naomi Wilson became a missing persons case, she was simply a woman building a life she had worked hard to create. Naomi was 32 years old. She was originally from Birmingham, Alabama. After graduating from high school, she moved to Chicago. Eventually, life led her to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Naomi had established herself there. She owned her own home. She had recently purchased a white 1978 Ford Fairmont. She worked at the Harnish Fair Corporation. Those who knew her described her as dependable, responsible, and someone who valued her independence. She had plans. She had routines. And she had people who cared about her. Nothing about her life suggested she was preparing to disappear. Sunday, April 12th, 1981, began like any other day. Naomi attended church that morning. Later that day, she spent time with her boyfriend, Billy Beats. According to Billy, Naomi planned to stop for gasoline before visiting a coworker. It was supposed to be a routine trip, but Naomi never arrived. When she failed to report to work, the people who knew her immediately realized something was wrong. This wasn't like Naomi. She was reliable. She didn't simply disappear without telling someone. 2 days later, her white Ford Fairmont was discovered abandoned in the parking lot of a Kmart in Cedar Rapids. There were no obvious signs explaining what had happened, and there was no sign of Naomi. As investigators searched for answers, her family refused to give up hope. Her brothers traveled from Atlanta, joining the search for their sister. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Yet Naomi never came home. Over the years, investigators came to believe that foul play was likely involved. But despite decades of investigation, no one has ever been charged in connection with Naomi's disappearance. More than 40 years have passed. Her family is still without answers. Her friends are still left with questions. And Naomi Wilson has never been found. Some stories never made the headlines, but they deserve to be remembered. And Naomi Wilson's story is one of them. She walked away for what should have been only a few moments. She never came back. No one reported seeing where she went. No one knows what happened after that. More than 30 years later, her family is still searching for answers. This is the story of Lisa Ann Littles. Before Lisa became a missing persons case, she was a daughter, a sister, a friend, a woman with hopes, dreams, and a future still unfolding. Lisa Ann Littles was 28 years old. She lived in Little Rock, Arkansas. Nothing about her life suggested she would simply disappear. Tuesday, September 27th, 1994, began like any other day. That evening, Lisa was riding in a vehicle with a man she knew. During the drive, the two argued. They eventually stopped at MacArthur Park. According to the man, Lisa got out of the vehicle, saying she was going to use the restroom. She walked away. No one knew those would be the last confirmed moments anyone would see Lisa. When she didn't return, concern quickly turned into fear. Her purse was still inside the vehicle, a detail investigators could not ignore. Her family knew something was terribly wrong. Lisa wasn't known for disappearing without contacting the people she loved. Investigators searched the area. Witnesses were interviewed. Leads were pursued. But Lisa had vanished. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Years became decades. Yet no confirmed trace of Lisa has ever been found. Her disappearance remains unsolved. Today, her family continues to search for answers, and the questions remain the same. What happened after Lisa walked away? Who knows the truth? And will her loved ones ever get the answers they deserve? Some stories never made the headlines, but every life matters. Every family deserves the truth, and Lisa Ann Littles deserves to be remembered. The storm became national news. But before the tornado, there was a young woman, a daughter, a sister, a friend. Her name was Latoya T. Brown. And before the headlines focused on the devastation, her family was already searching for answers. This is her story. Before Latoya became a missing persons case, she was 26 years old. She lived in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Family and friends lovingly called her T. She was independent, she was loved, and nothing suggested she was about to disappear. On April 26, 2011, Latoya left home. According to investigators, that would be the last confirmed time anyone saw her. The following day, April 27th, her cell phone showed activity near the Rosedale Apartments. Then, the trail went silent. Later that same day, one of the deadliest tornado outbreaks in American history tore through Alabama. Entire neighborhoods were destroyed. Families lost everything. As rescue and recovery efforts began, the search for Latoya became even more difficult. Investigators have never determined whether the tornado was connected to her disappearance or whether she vanished before the storm arrived. More than a decade later, those questions remain unanswered. No confirmed sightings of Latoya have ever been reported. No one has ever been charged in connection with her disappearance. Her family is still searching, still hoping, still waiting for answers. Some stories never made the headlines, but every life matters. Every family deserves the truth. And Latoya T. Brown deserves to be remembered. She knew exactly where she was going. It wasn't far from home. A simple walk to pay an electric bill. She should have been back within minutes. She never returned. This is the story of Shirley Ann Gladney. Before Shirley became a missing persons case, she was a daughter, a loved one, a young woman with her whole life ahead of her. Shirley Ann Gladney was 20 years old. She lived in Okolona, Mississippi. Those who knew her never imagined that an ordinary errand would become a mystery lasting decades. Friday, April 9th, 1999, Shirley left home on foot. She told her family she was going to pay her electric bill. It was supposed to be a quick trip, one she had every reason to believe she would return from. But Shirley never came home. As the hours passed, her loved ones became worried. This wasn't like Shirley. She hadn't packed her belongings. She hadn't told anyone she planned to leave. She simply vanished. 3 days later, after Shirley still hadn't returned, she was officially reported missing. Investigators began searching for answers. Family members hoped someone had seen her. Someone had to know something. But days became weeks, weeks became months, and months became years. The answers never came. No confirmed sightings of Shirley have ever been reported. No arrests have ever been made, and her disappearance remains unsolved. Today, more than 2 decades later, her family is still waiting, still hoping, still searching for the truth. Some stories never made the headlines, but every life matters. Every family deserves answers, and Shirley Ann Gladney deserves to be remembered. She was almost home. Just a few more minutes, and she should have walked through her front door. Instead, only her belongings were found. Her family has never seen her again. This is the story of Tonee Turner. Before Tonee became a missing persons case, she was an artist, a teacher, a dancer, a young woman whose creativity touched everyone around her. Tonee Marie Turner was 22 years old. She lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She worked as a metal fabricator. She also taught ceramics. Art wasn't just something she enjoyed. It was part of who she was. Monday, December 30th, 2019, started like an ordinary workday. After finishing work, Tonee stopped briefly at Dover Tea. Then she boarded her usual bus home. The bus driver later confirmed that Tonee got off near Hazelwood Avenue and Giddings Street. It was her normal stop. She even spoke with her sister by phone around that time. Those are the last confirmed moments anyone knows Tonee was alive. Later that evening, a man crossing the Homestead Grays Bridge found a purse, a pair of shoes, and one of Tonee's ceramic pieces. Inside the purse were her phone, her keys, her wallet, and her diary. But there was no sign of Tonee. The next day, her family learned her belongings had been found. When they couldn't reach her, they knew something was terribly wrong. Tonee didn't simply disappear without telling the people she loved. Investigators searched for answers. Friends searched. Families searched, but the trail went cold. More than 5 years later, no one has been charged, no confirmed sightings have ever been reported, and Tonee Turner has never been found. Some stories never made the headlines, but every life matters. Every family deserves answers, and Tonee Turner deserves to be remembered. She left home planning to come back. She spoke with her mother that night. No one imagined it would be their last conversation. 3 days later, her car was found, but Tamala was nowhere to be found. This is the story of Tamala Nikki Wells. Before Tamala became a missing persons case, she was a mother, a daughter, a sister, a woman working to build a better future. Tamala Nicole Wells, known to many as Nikki, was 33 years old. She lived in Detroit, Michigan. She had graduated from nursing school. She worked in home health care. Most importantly, she was the mother of 2 children. Her family describes her as someone who loved deeply and stayed connected to the people she cared about. Monday, August 6, 2012, Tamala left her home on Detroit's west side. She was driving her white Pontiac Grand Prix. Later that evening, she spoke with her mother by telephone. Nothing about the conversation suggested anything was wrong. It would be the last time her family ever heard her voice. Tamala never came home. Days passed. Her loved ones searched for answers. 3 days later, her Pontiac Grand Prix was discovered abandoned only a few blocks from her home. Some clothing remained inside the vehicle, but there was no sign of Tamala. Investigators interviewed those closest to her. Leads were followed, questions were asked, but no evidence has ever explained what happened after Tamala left home that night. More than a decade has passed. Her children have grown older. Her family still waits, still hopes, still searches for the answers they deserve. Some stories never made the headlines, but every life matters. Every family deserves the truth. And Tamala Nikki Wells deserves to be remembered. Some stories never made the headlines. Some names were spoken only by the people who loved them most. But they mattered. They still matter. Naomi Wilson, Lisa Ann Littles, Latoya T. Brown, Shirley Ann Gladney, Tonee Turner, Tamala Nikki Wells. These women are more than missing persons. They are daughters, mothers, sisters, friends, and their families deserve answers. If this documentary moved you, please share it. Someone, somewhere, may recognize a face, may remember a detail, or may simply help keep these women's stories alive. Because no one should ever vanish without headlines.